Our story begins on a quiet September night in the royal palace of Madrid. The year is 1833. The corridors are drowned in silence, not the peaceful kind, but the kind that follows suffering. Behind the closed doors of the royal chambers, a once mighty monarch lies dying. Ferdinand VII, King of Spain, writhes in agony on his silk-covered bed. The air smells of medicine, blood, and decay. Doctors whisper in hopeless tones, trying to soothe a man devoured by a disease of his own making, syphilis, the slow and merciless punishment for a lifetime of sin. The irony is cruel. The man who once called himself the defender of Catholic virtue, now consumed by the very vice he preached against. His groans echo through the marble halls like the final confession of a corrupt soul. To understand how Spain's monarch became a symbol of perversion, we must return to his childhood, a childhood raised in decadence. Born on October 14th, 1784, Ferdinand grew up in a court where corruption was the law and lust the true religion. His mother, Queen Maria Luisa of Parma, and her powerful lover, Manuel Godoy, ruled not through wisdom, but through scandal and manipulation. The young prince learned early that power could be bought with bodies and broken with lies. By the age of 10, he displayed a disturbing delight in cruelty, torturing animals and humiliating servants for amusement. Tutors who dared correct him were dismissed, leaving a boy who learned nothing of virtue and everything of domination. As he grew, so did his obsession with control. The young prince, rather than studying the art of governance, spent his days crafting holes in palace walls to spy on others in their most private moments. While other heirs studied philosophy and law, Ferdinand studied sin. His education was a wasteland, his intellect dull, his morals rotten. And yet he was the future king of Spain, a man destined to rule millions, but incapable of ruling himself. At 18, Ferdinand married his cousin, Maria Antonia of Naples, a gentle, educated woman who hoped marriage might tame his darkness. Instead, it became her prison. Behind closed doors, the young queen endured humiliation beyond words. The court whispered strange rituals and acts unfit for the dignity of a queen. Maria Antonia began to fade, not from sickness, but from despair. When she died at just 21, the palace spoke of tuberculosis, but others whispered poison, or of heartbreak so deep it simply stopped her heart. Ferdinand felt nothing. To him, death was just another inconvenience. In 1808, while Spain bled under the boots of Napoleon's army, Ferdinand saw not tragedy but opportunity. During the mutiny of Aranjuez, he betrayed his own father, forcing him to abdicate. But the so-called savior of Spain quickly revealed himself as a coward. In Bayonne, he begged Napoleon for protection, offering his country like a trinket for his own safety. Napoleon, disgusted, called him the most vile man he had ever met. While patriots fought and died in the streets, Ferdinand spent his exile in luxury, feasting, drinking, and corrupting servants, a king without a country and without a conscience. When he returned to Spain in 1814, the people hailed him as their deliverer, unaware that their deliverer was a serpent. His first act as king was not to rebuild, but to destroy. He restored the Inquisition, not out of faith, but for pleasure, for it gave him power over life, death, and women. He accused innocent women of heresy, only to offer forgiveness in exchange for submission. The royal court became a theater of cruelty. Ministers offered their wives and daughters in exchange for positions, and Ferdinand turned the palace into a brothel with a crown. His wives came and went, each more tragic than the last. Isabel of Braganza, dead at 19, her body marked with bruises and despair. Maria Josepha Amalia of Saxony, 20, terrified and gone in 2 years. Physicians whispered poison. Confessors spoke of tears. Yet Ferdinand's reign of flesh continued, unchecked and unrepentant. He sought virgins, nuns, even children, buying innocence as one might buy wine. Spain fell into ruin, its empire dissolving, its soul rotting alongside its king. By 1833, the disease he had spread through others now consumed him. His body was eaten by ulcers, his mind fading into delirium. Even his doctors recoiled at the stench. Abandoned by friends and mistresses alike, Ferdinand VII of Spain died alone, a carcass of the man he once was. His last breath carried no redemption, no prayer, only the sound of a soul finally facing its own reflection. There were no tears at his funeral, only relief. The nation he had disgraced began to heal, while his only daughter, Isabella II, inherited a crown tainted by her father's sins. Today, history remembers him not as a king, but as a warning that power without virtue corrupts absolutely, and that no title, not even one anointed by God, can shield a man from the decay of his own depravity. The story of Ferdinand VII is not merely that of a corrupt man, but of a kingdom brought low by desire, and a reminder that the flesh of kings decays like any other. Spain survived him, but his shadow lingered for generations, and so the perverted King of Spain remains, even now, a ghost of warning, whispering through the marble halls of Madrid that even the mightiest fall when pleasure becomes their throne.